Welcome back to CFS Summit 2022, Render the Phygital Reality. My name is Enrique Menendez, Editor-in-Chief at CFS and your host for this year's summit. Today is Day 2 Fashion, the new look now in Web3, and we're so pleased to have all of you with us in VR at the Grand Palais Ephemer in the Spin Metaverse. Our topic for this conversation is luxury systems and Web3, trend versus paradigm. Our moderator is Anna Barr, editor at F Young magazine, and our speakers include Daniela, Secretary General at Auroboros, Elise Yoshida, Digital Communications Director at Louboutin, Alissa Aulbekova and Paula, Sello, co-founder and creative directors at Auroboros, Terry Gates, founder at Terry Gates Studio, and Stefano, Rosso, CEO at BBX. Luxury fashion has long faced a systemic paradox, balancing the allure of exclusivity with mass appeal. The identity of exclusivity is traditionally a building block for luxury brands, while access is vital to keeping a company financially healthy. The rise of the internet started to make this balance even more delicate, as many of the tools that fashion traditionally used to retain exclusivity began to change. Fashion shows, the design process, designers themselves have all become readily accessible through the internet. But more importantly, a vast number of people, consumers of luxury, but also people who can't afford luxury, gained a voice in the fashion conversation in the form of live feedback through social media. And whether we are quick to admit it or not, this has largely shifted the power of who is a tastemaker in luxury, giving authority to the collective voice. Now, with the rise of Web3, this conversation continues to develop as the decentralized nature of blockchain pushes the reach of public power even further. And new spaces like the metaverse and the shifting interest of rising generations means that there is a new realm for luxury to operate in. So now fashion is faced with the challenge of recalibrating to this new normal. And traditionally, the trend-setting industry, we are now trying to understand if these shifts around us are just a trend or in fact a paradigm shift. And I will now hand it over to Anna, who will be guiding our conversation.
Everybody, I want to kick off the first question to the group. What is something, a product, environment, or other in the fashion space that you would want to experiment with or already have experimented with that wouldn't be possible without the metaverse or Web3? Daniela, could you start?
Sure. No, thank you so much, Anna. I wouldn't give an experiment. You know, we are non-profit. I would give you two use cases which I particularly love, and they are in our two business units. So one is about all traceability, and the other one is about NFTs. So the one I want to shout out is to Prada, one of our founding members. They came out a few weeks ago with a jewelry and diamond traceability certificate. And this is basically using an NFT on our blockchain. They use our blockchain to certify the whole supply chain and the origin of the gold and the diamonds. So it's 100% of the gold is certified, it's recycled gold, and actually 100% of the diamonds are traceable and verifiable from the mine to retail. And all of this can be, it comes with a card, with a chip, and this can be traced, if I may say, by the client who buys it. So I think this is a really nice example how you can use, in this case, NFTs on our blockchain to actually enhance traceability and give much more information to the consumer. And the second example I wanted to share is NFT. We have a member which is a musical instrument maker, and they produce, I wouldn't say luxury, but they produce some of the most expensive instruments. And the instrument is also really heavy. It's like 300 kilos. And there was a special edition with a special wood. And when you bought this and it was delivered to your home, you got with it basically a very beautiful box with some items in the box, also QR code, and you got airdropped an NFT, and this was your NFT for this particular instrument for the limited edition of that particular instrument. This was special wood, and it actually had a piece of music which was recorded from this instrument. And the nice thing is, given that it's such a big instrument and heavy, you obviously don't carry it around, but if you the feedback we had from this brand, and bear in mind this brand was founded in, I don't know, 1850, I think 1854, so it's a very long time ago, and they use now NFTs for the consumer to really take that piece with them. And we can also add actually not only the recorded music from that particular piece, which then you can share on your mobile phone when you're out and when you meet your friends, but actually you can also add your own pieces to that. So I think these are two examples, one more about traceability and the second one more NFTs related, which maybe give an idea, which I think both are really great for the consumer.
Thanks. How about you?
Hello, everyone. I'm Elise Yoshida, and I've been working for the past 16 years in the luxury field with the likes of Chanel, Louis Vuitton, and now I'm heading digital for Maison Christian Louboutin, right, sold shoes. And to answer your question, Anna, I would say that I think token-gated content as a path to user centricity is something that I feel is very new and very interesting. Why is that? Is I feel that it encompasses really all the mindset of the Web3, in a sense of, with token-gated content, you belong to a community, you have privileges, a little bit like when you go to a fashion show and you're amongst the happy few, right? But with this kind of content, you and only you can choose if you will use your privileges that you acquired, because probably at some point you acquired an NFT or earned an NFT, and you can use your privileges without giving your data, your privacy, anything to the brand. So in that sense, I think it's a real shift, and brands will have to work on this, shifting from brand centricity to user centricity for real.
Thank you. And next, can we have a word from Alissa and Paula from Auroboros?
Hi. Well, we are honestly such fans of technology, almost solar punks, I would say. We look at it as tools, and really that technology can bring magic into this world. And inadvertently, we are playing with magic realism. How can we elevate our current reality with technology, whether it's AR filters, whether it's XR exploration, or going fully into the metaverse through your avatar? So we see so much benefits for the customer, for artists and the collector to really explore this world and have an ownership with that, and the potential to co-create. So as a metaverse native Web3 brand, we really focus on the community and putting our community first, and really co-creating what the digital lifestyle will be.
Thank you.
I think to add to that as well, really as I think as probably the first and only digital luxury fashion brand, for us it was really about presenting a whole new vision. Web3 is a tool, but it's also in a way a new form of culture that's emerging. And as the first generation, obviously, to grow up with the internet as well, and to grow up already understanding the value of intangible assets, whether through games or films like Avatar, I think a whole perception of intangibility, of magic realism, as Alissa was talking about as well, is what informs the way forwards. And it's really culture building as well as community creation, and creating a vision and working towards a vision that's innovative and fresh and new. It's in a sense, it's a button that we've pressed to start a new cycle of innovation.
Great. And Terry?
I've been using technology for quite a long time. I'm from a photography background, and I've moved into making 3D avatars and more recently AI images. And what I'm excited about exploring in Web3 is I'm joining a beauty DAO, which is going to be launching very soon, which explores new financial models and different ways of doing things for artists, and this is very very close to my heart, exploring these different ways of different models of financially rewarding artists and royalties, and it's in the digital beauty space. So I'll be creating makeup for digital characters and avatars. Yeah.
Okay. And finally, Stefano.
Yeah, I'm Stefano. I work at PVX, that is a division of the OTB group, a major fashion conglomerates in the industry. And we are part of the Aura blockchain consortium. So if you see my background as the one of Daniela, is because we are one of the founding members of Aura. About this space, in 1 minute, I feel that one of the most interesting portion that really drives our wish to work in the Web3 space is the sense of community and the community management of the audience. I think it's really something unique to this space, and it really gives the power to the fan base of a brand to feel kind of part of a bigger and broader project, and not only consume a product or use a product. And that, I think, it's something magical that will really drive a lot of the attention, and it's been driving a lot of the attention to the space, and it's something that we're really learning in doing with BVX, because again, the real success of this space is the community more than the projects. The community drives everything, drives the results, drives the success, drives the fault of each project, and they have a lot of power, more than in any other economic system done before. So that's something really intriguing for us.
Thank you. So Daniela, our blockchain is one of the key tools for the luxury industry. Also a pioneer in a cross-brand and cross-conglomerate collaboration. While this is a Web3 summit, we always find it useful to lay a foundation. Could you, from your perspective and expertise, explain the role of our blockchain for the fashion industry, and through this, explain blockchain in fashion?
Sure. Thank you, Anna. So, you know, the Aura blockchain consortium, maybe let's go back to the vision. The founding members, which are OTB, which is here represented by Stefano, OTB Group, and as well as Prada, Richemont, LVMH, as well as Mercedes-Benz Group. They really came together to create, if I would say, to collaborate and collaborate for the greater good. And the greater good here is really the consumer and the planet, and putting the consumer at the center. And I think that's important to realize that vision they had, because really from what you can bring to the consumer, this is what actually blockchain can do in fashion, the benefits. One thing just to stay, I mean, obviously, I think you all know that, and also your audience, but blockchain is obviously very young and it's quite complex. Compared AI, you know, is sort of 70 years around. Blockchain is what, 13 years? It's changing also very quickly. So Aura's mission is really to make blockchain easy. So the purpose is really to make blockchain easy for any luxury or fashion brand. And we are non-profit, and being non-profit, that was also, I think, really visionary from the founding members, is to make it a non-profit and to make it accessible, not just for large brands, but also for small brands, but also really trying to create a standard of this technology. And in terms of the benefits, there are several benefits, and I think it shows you also the inherent nature of what blockchain can bring to any industry, but in particular to the fashion industry. So I think I mentioned it at the beginning, the benefits for the consumers is very much about authentication, supply chain transparency, transfer of ownership, obviously convenience, because it makes the circular economy more convenient, but also more profitable. And this is linked to the authentication and the transfer of ownership. And also things like an e-warranty, which you have, for instance, for handbags, or you have it for watches, or you have it for jewelry. And then, for instance, for luxury cars, you have a maintenance passport, and that you can just prove, first of all, the authenticity, but you can also show that you have maintained it always in the right garage or in the right watchmaker workshop, if I may say. So these are, I would say, the benefits of the consumer, but if you sum it up, you just give to the consumer much more power. And then the benefits for the brand, what we do in our and what the team does really on a day-to-day basis is really trying to make blockchain, if that's NFTs, onboarding the brands, consumer journey, getting the whole flow together is actually tricky, and we try to support our brands as best as we can. We have a smart contract generator, which makes it really easy to write into a blockchain. You need zero code knowledge. So it's really making the platform easy, have something very flexible, because every brand wants a little bit something specific and something else. And then obviously this personal relationship with the clients, which especially, for instance, for secondhand or for third hand, the brands do not have that relationship today. And also they don't participate in that exchange. You can, for instance, write in the smart contract when you have an exchange from second to third hand, that a brand, or for instance, in particular, young designer, could actually get access to royalties in the second or third hand. And last but not least, just touching on a point what Stefano said before, I think the most important point is really also the community, and to what Elise said with, for instance, token-gated communities, the aspect. I think one of the concepts you will develop later on in this panel is, what's traditional luxury and what's luxury and fashion going forward. But I think what's really of the essence is that aspect of convenience, community, and also co-creation. These are really new values, not just of luxury, but I think for any generation coming forward, which are really important.
Thank you. Yeah, moving forward, Auroboros is pioneering as a science tech couture house. So Alissa and Paula, could you share with us how your design process for a garment begins? What do you hope to evoke? How do the physical and digital applications diverge from scenario where you might only be designing physically? And what does it mean to be a brand that is born from this viewpoint at inception?
It's great. No, I mean, we obviously start with a lot of research. I think for us, the most exciting time, obviously, I think as with probably a traditional fashion brand as well, is the research period of inspiration. And then, there's only one other space that's as free as the digital, which is a piece of paper. So, a lot of it comes from hand drawings, and then bit by bit transgressing these hand drawings into the digital form, and going through stages. So we've created a very unique pipeline with our artists to delve into this world of mysticism and non-physics related worlds. Again, it's so beautiful to be able to design in a way that's not limited to our physical realm. Again, this is where magic realism comes into play. And so with the different artists, different crafts come forwards. Each artist brings their own language to the design. And as it, develops, every single digital artist will build on top of each other in order to create the final result. So what you're seeing here is a very unique new form of craftsmanship that's never existed before. For those who are new to the digital world and digital fashion specifically, it's been around for a few decades through film, so through VFX, games as well, but it's still quite a recent craft. So that's where we really draw our artists from, is the people who built your favorite films, whether it's Lord of the Rings, Avatar, or any other, Black Panther movie. Those are the people who we're working with to actively create these collections. And of course, we're thinking in a way that's much more engaging and much more, in a sense, gamified as well. Within each collection, there might be what we call Easter eggs, a small part of another collection hidden within a sleeve, or in a hair tie or something else. So it's a very experiential way of working and creating this craft.
Good, thank you.
I'll pass on the mic to Alissa if you want to continue, Alissa.
No, I think that was beautifully said. I mean, we just obviously want to say that within this ecosystem, there is so much possibilities and intelligence that goes through every step. as we've been working with scientists, researchers, craftsmen in the digital field, and the work becomes very complex, but yet beautiful in terms of the narrative interwoven into digital files, if I can say.
Yeah, it's really about storytelling. And I think this is where we're so unique. It's more of a cinematic approach to fashion and bringing in a way back, what everyone glorifies, I suppose, about the 80s and the 90s of the spectacular runway shows that people like Galliano or McQueen brought around.
Well, thank you so much. On the other end of the spectrum, we have Louboutin, which is very much established in the physical. So Elise, Louboutin was notably early as a French luxury brand to actually engage in the metaverse. Why would luxury brands benefit from creating a collection to be worn in the metaverse? And what could be the reasons that bring them to consider engaging in the metaverse to start with?
Well, I'm trying not to think about why a brand would be doing anything in the metaverse, but rather what a brand could bring to the user, the consumers, or the prospect, and what could be this person be finding in a metaverse. If you come to think about it, we all have 24 hours a day, and we all have very little spare time. And in our spare time, if we want to, spend it on a digital fashion, well, there will be a lot of different possibilities competing for our attention. You can spend it on Netflix, you can spend it on TikTok, you can spend it on Tinder, whatever you want. So in order for you to want to go to a metaverse, either you have to find something that solves one of your problems or make it easier, make something easier in your life, or you have to find a value to go there that you won't find anywhere else. And in a way, this value is very easy to spot when you think metaverse as in gaming worlds, because you really understand very well why somebody would go to Roblox or Fortnite. But in decentralized metaverses, sometimes it's harder to perceive, right? What would be the value? It's easy to think about making someone go to a metaverse once out of curiosity because there was a lot of communication around the operation, etc. But it's much more difficult to get somebody to come back. And if you want somebody to come back, you have to provide something different. So I would tend to say for all the luxury brands that are thinking about creating something in the metaverse, that they should first think about what do they bring to the users and really put themselves in the shoes and provide some kind of value that is different from what can be found elsewhere.
Great, thank you. Moving on, Stefano, as one of the first in the market, OTB Group established the company BVX, Brave Virtual Experience, to help brands across its portfolio develop projects and initiatives intended for Web3, as we're discussing today. What was the starting point?
It was something that went outside, of the general fashion experience. I personally was engaged with a friend of mine that was close to the world of gaming, and I started a startup company during my weekends and weeknights to look on how to bring a lifestyle towards the world of gaming. And that's how I got engaged with the full gaming metaverse NFT world, and I was able to bring it to the OTB group. So it was by mistake how it all started. Like most of the important and interesting things in the world happen by mistake. So after that, we decided that there was really a revolution going on inside this space. And we felt that it was natural for us to dedicate a division of the group towards this environment, to accelerate the presence of all of our brands inside the space. We decided to do it like this because, as you can imagine, for fashion brands, priorities are always linked to generating more products, more fashion shows, selling their merchandise. There is always little knowledge about new technological evolutions. And so we felt that generating an entity that would help our brand to come into the space was really important. The first project we did was a project with Diesel. We made a series of NFTs called Divers, 4 different NFTs with different utilities, with the scope really to bridge between our brand real environment with, you know, these new virtual realms. And it's quite interesting because each NFT was different and was giving a different utilities that went from a simple digital asset to owning one of the pieces of the fashion show. And in the middle, there are several others options and opportunities that we put to the plate. But for us, it's very important to always make sure that we look at the brand values, the brand roadmap, and we develop projects around who they are and what they do, trying to avoid to replicate others' brands project or other Web3 projects, but really being honest and true to the brand DNA, the brand value, and the brand vision. Because we feel that's the only way to be successful. If you just try otherwise to replicate what someone else has done, it's not going to work, especially because the community in Web3 is very, very, let's say they pay a lot of attention on the projects that are released, and they smell right away or from far whoever is trying to gain an easy dollar or is trying to gain, you know, an extra like. So it's very important to do projects keeping in mind the dynamics of the environment, but staying very true and honest to the brand DNA.
Okay, thank you. Moving forward, Terry, you know, before we heard from a designer on creating clothes, from a tech company on backing for the blockchain, and from a brand, in a way, rounding out the system of fashion production, how do you ultimately approach capturing fashion within the context of 3D spaces? How do you see this role perhaps playing out differently than it does when dealing with traditional fashion?
It's just a whole new way of working. It opens up a lot of doors for creatives that, I mean, traditionally to do a high-end fashion shoot, you'd need a great stylist, a great model, a great location. And with working through 3D and AI, you're able to do that as a single person. So it makes it a lot more approachable and accessible to artists. There are a lot of different disciplines within 3D and image making. You could be a specialist in making hair, a specialist in doing shading for the skin, or designing clothes. So all these things can be achieved by one person or a small team. And it's just a very different set of skills to a traditional photo shoot, which is where my background is. And yeah, I love it. I think it's just like really exciting, and the opportunities and abilities to be creative is just endless. So yeah, I think it's a very exciting time, and happy to be involved. Great.
And bringing it back to Stefano quickly, as a board member of the OR blockchain consortium, how do you approach KPIs when it comes to brands' initiatives developed via blockchain?
Yeah, it's not simple. It's not simple. I mean, specifically because it's a new space and there are no strong KPIs yet. So right now, what we did a qualitative analysis. So we were able to get direct feedbacks from some of our community members through Discord or individually to understand if they were satisfied with the release and the drops that we have done and the activities linked to those NFTs. Funny enough, you know, being a blockchain, everything traced, but still I think it's hard to understand what are the real important KPIs. What, for instance, I don't appreciate personally is the most important KPI of the NFT world, that is the reselling price, because I think it's very limiting, you know. To me personally, it doesn't tell me anything. If my NFT is worth it $2 more the day after, or is $10 less. I personally don't care. What's important is the utilities that are linked to it and how I'm able to generate interest around the community that bought that NFT. But unfortunately, in this space still is very linked about reselling, which I think is a short-term vision. And for brands, it should not be that important personally. At least that's of course, my opinion. But I believe that's also something that will be changing once the adoption become more massive, and there are more projects that go beyond simply selling JPEGs. I think there will be much more interest, and the dynamics will change drastically and dramatically.
Thank you. Talking about value, Paula, how do you see as a digital couture piece's value and a digital couture piece's value?
I think this is a really beautiful question, to be honest, and kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier, is always this idea of intangibility, the fact that intangible assets are valuable, especially if they're interoperable. For us, from the get-go, when we launched the brand just last year, we created an interoperable feeling where your assets could be worn through either AR filters on social media, or superimposed on your images, or worn in game. It was having the ability to take those assets into different spaces, into the digital spaces that you inhabit, and allow those assets to obviously, guide you through experiences, unlock things. Again, having this really interesting gamified experience with fashion for the first time. And again, thinking more towards theater, towards film, towards game, of what these assets can now provide, rather than just in the physical world, it's maybe something beautiful that you wear once and then you collect as a future vintage piece to resell. And also going back to what Stefano was saying earlier, these assets have so much more ability to also move us emotionally, and have a much wider lifespan, and have again, to add what's very important that no one's spoken about yet, is also sustainability. It's incredibly important for our generation to start moving towards the digital and to start wearing digital pieces, and really see the opportunity and the values and everything else that comes with beautiful digital pieces. Alissa, do you want to add?
Well, this is something that we've been working on for the past year in behind closed doors, is really solving the problem of how do you experience digital fashion, especially tying in on the chain and moving beyond the JPEG. So really taking fashion off the screen. This is something that we'll be launching in the next year with our new collection named Mesmer. And we're really excited to showcase people how digital fashion can really flourish in this space right now, with everything that we have technologically, and with the mindset of going forward with the choice of sustainability and something new and innovative that you can collect, own, and even pass down to the next generation.
Thank you. Looking at the consumer, Elise, I have a question. Who is the typical luxury brand's metaverse consumer, and what can this consumer expect from luxury brands in the metaverse now and in the future?
Well, an easy answer to that would be to say that this consumer is probably young, a bit tech savvy, and why not more prone to be a male. Although it has some truth to it right now, it would be looking at metaverses only taking into consideration the most hard to access, either because you need to have a wallet because they're on chain, or because you need to have a headgear. But when you think about it, metaverse can be gaming, can be very easy to access, like think the Sello, or think any kind of gaming of different metaverse. And in that sense, I like to think about the metaverse user in parallel with what we saw in social media at the beginning of the explosion around the year 2007. And I feel that very soon, anyone in the metaverse will be like anyone on social media. There will be no expert. You don't need to be an expert to be on Instagram, right? But what will make the difference between somebody that will look for luxury brands on the metaverse will be actually the same as in real life, an appetite for creativity, for savoir-faire, craftsmanship, for extremely high standards, and somehow for scarcity, which is made possible even right now with the NFTs. And about what could be expected from luxury brands, hopefully the users will not expect less than what they are already expecting in real life in terms of standards. So I would say extreme attentions to details, creativity, like again, extreme creativity, and a sense of digital savoir-faire, which the panel already touched, which is totally applicable to all the digital realm.
You know, Louboutin has perhaps one of the strongest, most iconic uses of a single color in fashion history, of course, red. How can luxury brands transfer their brand DNA over to the metaverse in terms of brand extension and brand building?
Yeah, we've said it already, but luxury brands are all about creativity. And to that extent, the metaverse is really a unique playground for creativity. So for the brands, you know, there will be a lot of different ways, in renewed ways in which they can express their creativities. So it's probably not about replicating what already exists in real life. I mean, it's going to maybe be fun again to go once to a metaverse Avenue Montaigne or metaverse store that looks like a real store, but you probably won't get there twice. And I feel that the brands should benefit from the fact that was said before, that we are not to obey about the gravity laws or even the real estate prices. Well, although in some metaverses, there are still those real estate prices right now, but I mean, the creativity is unbounded. So that's how you can definitely translate your DNA and your brand values to this new space through creativity. And the most creative brands will be the most successful for sure.
Wow, thank you. On the subject of creativity, Terry, how do you believe users want to explore fashion today, and how do digital realms change this?
I think fashion has always been tied to identity, and with digital fashion, it's still the same thing. It's just a different parallel to the real world. I've been a gamer for a long time, and like I play with my brother. It's the only time I ever catch up with him is through gaming. So we're playing, and we're always like checking out each other's outfit, who has the new gun and the new weapon, and people just want to explore their identity and try different things. And the metaverse and gaming is just a different avenue for exploring identity.
Thank you. Daniela, when we traditionally, luxury is rooted in systems that inherently harm the planet. And I do believe that Alissa brought up the subject of sustainability before, often resulting in waste and excess. So what technology is available in Web3 fashion that can be leveraged to shift the system?
So first of all, I think we just must make a distinction, because obviously luxury itself is often very small units, and the life cycle of a luxury product can be extended a lot. And I think it's other parts of the fashion industry which are more damaging to the planet, I think, than actually luxury itself. So maybe just to clarify in your question, I don't think it's luxury per se. I think it's more fast fashion, which create this problem of constant consumption. and lower quality items, which you can't resell so much. So if we bring me back to resale and second and third hand and fourth hand usage, I think luxury brands actually are very economical in that sense, if you look at it over a longer life cycle. And I think sustainability is really about foremost what you have produced, keeping it in use much longer. And luxury is actually destined to that. I think there was a famous creator from a luxury maison who said, luxury is what can be repaired. And from that starting point, also from craftsmanship, you know, what we heard from Paula before, whether it's digital craftsmanship or physical craftsmanship, just allows that actually blockchain allows you with the certificate of authenticity, with the certificate of ownership, actually to make resale much more feasible, much more convenient. I think a big value of luxury going forward is really convenience and making really this purchase and really the selling and the buying much easier, because you know 100% it's authentic. But also in itself, it's just much easier transferred, but also makes it more possible for the brands actually to run it more profitable, because, you know, re-engineering your supply chain to make secondhand and third-hand feasible is actually quite a process. So blockchain gives, I think, for the consumer, but also for the brands, actually a lot of advantages if you have this digital twin. And if I may look into my crystal ball, which I would love to hear everybody's thoughts, is I think today, if you look at luxury brands, 100% of the sales are coming from physical and new product, but actually going forward, this is going down more to 70%. It's coming from new and physical product with a digital twin, hopefully an Aura digital twin, and then 20% from circular revenue, which I'm referring obviously to resale and rental and refill, for instance, for beauty, and then 10% from virtual goods such as tokens or digital fashion.
Thank you. Stefano, how do you approach the implementation of Web3 technology, digital technology on the group level?
Yeah, I mean, we applied in several different ways. Something that is very interesting, for instance, is the process of co-creation that we have put in place, for instance, for one of our NFTs. Basically, the NFT was a sneaker, and attached to it, there was a real physical sneaker. And we decided that the colorways should be decided not by us, but by the community that invested in the NFT and invested on the project. So that was something very fun, actually, to see how the community really got involved. And actually, we are writing to each other to push one color more than the other in the poll was quite unique. And at the end, we delivered the goods. We're delivering the good now to everyone that will have their unique colorways as the NFT owners of Diesel. So it's quite fun. And I think something very important to take into account is the fact that they want to feel part of the project. It's not anymore consuming. Again, it's really being part and involved into something that they feel a portion of it. So, you know, these are just some example on the way we could integrate the technology and implementation of that into our real life and phygital work. And then, of course, all the opportunities linked to the traceability of the chain of creation of value. Right now with Aura, for instance, we utilize simply the technology to authenticate and certificate if a good is original or not. But the opportunity is actually to go on top or underneath, you know, in the value chain and really trace where that item was produced, with what material, what supplier, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That gives and grants a certain level of craftsmanship and basically give value to the product that you are buying and you are investing in. And then down the chain of value, you can trace who was the owner, if you want to, of course, and that could add value because a bag owned by a famous rock star might, be more worth it than maybe a bag owned by myself. And there could be somebody out there that would be willing to invest, in the secondary market to get that bag. So again, the opportunities are endless. As far as I think that we all keep in mind not only the necessity and the wish of the brands, but mainly also what are the necessities and the wishes of the community.
Thank you. Fashion has evolved from traditional fashion to new luxury and streetwear, and now we're in an even new place, a new phase. A main thread under this evolution is that luxury has become accessible to more people. So the next question is actually for everybody on the panel. What are your views on this notion, accessible to more people? And how do you see digital wearables as a thread in evolution of fashion? Elise, can I first start with you?
Sure. It's true that if you take the past, you only had contacts with luxury brands through either stores or which could be quite intimidating, or print magazine. And I feel that is something that social media created, as said in the intro, that many people could have access to at least the brand DNA, the story of the brand, etc. And when you think about the products, I feel it's all about the second life precisely, and also the services like renting services that have made the products readily available to a greater volume of people. Today, it's true that, how can I say that, digital fashion can be seen as the extension also of a lot of lines that traditional luxury brands had been creating to help new people get in touch with their brands. For example, there were a lot of beauty lines that were created, or accessory lines that could be seen as really new touch points. And the digital fashion, in a sense, for me, are totally the extensions of these new lines. And they are the first contact with luxury products that have an impact. And this is probably different depending on the demographics. And if you speak to somebody my age, probably how my avatar looks is probably less worthwhile to me than how I really look in real life. But if you speak to younger generations, it's totally different. So I feel that luxury brands need to embrace that and to understand that they are providing a unique touch point to their brands, to these new generations.
Thank you so much. Alissa, can we have your answer to this, please?
Sure. I mean, I think it's such a natural progression. We spend approximately 80% of our time online, whether it's for work, for leisure, entertainment, dating, anything. So it's more than natural for fashion to progress in this way. Similarly to the music industry being digitalized completely. Art, as we have seen with NFTs being the first trooper in a way. So digital fashion is only going to gain value more and more. And the statistics say that over 70% of US customers and Asian, specifically in China, are valuing their digital identity as very important and have purchased digital assets. So I think we're more over the line than the leap already, and it's just going to be building up. So it's about identifying what cultural tribes there are going to be in the digital space, the identification and exploration, and hopefully more celebration for fun that fashion really is, and connecting with people across the world.
And just to add to that as well, I think now for the first time, there's a lot of representation for people who haven't been, visibly included within fashion in the past. This is very important, and this will be the first stage in which people represent themselves online, is through avatars that truly look like themselves in a very, very high fidelity. And again, this is where creating these avatars from the ground up, where you yourself as a creator understand the perspective, you know, from being potentially having an other abled body to being from, to like Alissa being from Kazakhstan. There's so many ways in which now people can be represented, and also people who maybe physically didn't have access to luxury before, or their body types weren't even possible to wear certain types of luxury. So then I think it will start gravitating, as Elise beautifully kind of summarized, towards the creativity, where people will now, you know, that they've seen themselves, they've represented themselves, it'll go towards really beyond the physical creativity. You know, what is it that I can be? How can I represent myself online that enhances my experience? Again, it's about that realism, that fantasy, that magic. And we're so excited, of course, to show what we have coming up as we're merging these worlds next year. So stay connected with us all. And thank
As are
you.
we, Paula. Looking forward to it. Terry, how can we reconcile the age-old luxury paradox of balancing accessibility with exclusivity in fashion under the context of the metaverse or Web3?
I don't know. I think it'll be the same thing. There's going to be more rare items, more things that are more people want, more. I think it's just the same thing in a different realm. Sorry, I don't have a good answer to that question. I'm sorry. I don't think it applies too much to what I'm doing.
Okay, so in that case, I'm going to finish our last question with you, Terry. And that is Web3 a luxury, a trend, a fad, or a paradigm shift?
I think it's a paradigm shift for sure. It's just opening up a lot of new ways that people can express their identity, ways that people can connect with each other, and yeah, it's a great way for people to show their identity and connect with other people.
Thanks. And Daniela, how do you feel? Trend or fad or paradigm shift?
I fully agree with Terry. Absolutely paradigm shift.
Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. And I want to bring it back to ENRIQUE. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining today's conversation, Luxury Systems in Web3, Trend versus Paradigm. We're so grateful to Anna and to our speakers, Daniela, Elise, Alissa, Paula, Terry, and Stefano, for answering all these questions and sharing all these great insights. We would also like to thank our media partner, Vogue Philippines, and CFS Hub partner, Caring, our retail partner, Gallery Lafayette, community partners, Amex, and Meta. We look forward to keeping this discourse alive throughout the duration of CFS Summit 2022 and throughout the year with CFS programming. You can visit our newly launched CFS page at cfs.fashion for more news, insights, and analysis on luxury systems in Web3.